Been a long time.
Yes, ma'am. A lot of water under the bridge.
Some of the old songs, Sam.
Yes, ma'am.
Where is Rick?
I don't know. I ain't seen him all night.
When will he be back?
Not tonight no more. He ain't coming. He went home.
Does he always leave so early?
Oh, he never. Well, he's got a girl up to the Blue Parrot. Goes up there all the time.
You used to be a much better liar, Sam.
Leave him alone, Miss Elsa. You bad luck to him.
Play it once, Sam. For all time's sake.
I don't know what you mean, Miss Elsa.
Play it, Sam. Play as time goes by.
Oh, I can't remember it, Miss Elsa. I'm a little rusty on it.
I'll hum it for you. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Sing it, Sam.
You must remember this. A kiss is just a kiss. A sigh is just a sigh. The fundamental things apply as time goes by.
Before I begin, I should explain what I'm doing here. You see, as a film major, I get exposed to a lot of classic movies, and some of the classes I take require me to analyze them on any possible level, form, or content. After a while, it started to become fun to have the free range to look at films in any possible way, and even try to put some intellectual input into an already talked-to-death topic. What I want to do here is look at what are considered by many to be the greatest films of all time created in the golden age of cinema. This isn't really going to be a review series so much as an analytical series as I take apart certain movies and find out the reason for why these films work. I can't do this without at least acknowledging James Rolfe's movie retrospectives and Monster Madness series. Nor can I deny the fact that this series is exactly where the idea came from. From King Kong to Citizen Kane to A Matter of Life and Death, all these movies are high quality for completely different reasons, and I want to explore all these reasons. So, whatever value the opinion of a 19-year-old geek has on classic untouchable movies, I hope you all enjoy my retrospectives, and I hope to make this a successful series. So, enjoy your feature presentation. Tonight, we don't stick our neck out for anyone as we look at Casablanca. The movie tells the story of Rick Blaine, a bar owner stuck in the middle of Nazi-occupied Casablanca. He's a complete loner who has only one person he considers a friend, his lounge singer Sam. Rick doesn't seem to be intimidated by anyone and wants to avoid as much conflict as possible. He mostly just provides visas for those who wish to go to America. When he finds out Victor Laszlo, a Czech resistance leader and concentration camp refugee, comes to Rick's cafe for letters to get to America, Rick becomes slightly interested. As it turns out, the woman Laszlo is with is the woman Rick had a romantic relationship back in France with, Ilsa. The feelings they had for one another return in this one-in-a-million encounter, and they must both decide on what is the best for both of them. Eventually, Rick decides it's better for the both of them if Ilsa stays with her husband and lives free in America. It seems funny to think that despite the amount of talent they had behind this project, nobody really expected the film to be as much of a hit as it was. It was just another Hollywood film meant to make a profit. First things first, this is an undeniably beautiful film. Almost a landmark in cinematography. It uses angles and cuts that were very ahead of their time. This form of camera work and staging adds to the idea of such a beautiful place surrounded by so much danger. The performances also come together nicely as well. Humphrey Bogart is noted for playing against type in this role, since he was usually cast as a gangster. Bergman's Ilsa has an almost childlike innocence to her, as she truly sells the idea that she is genuinely in love with two men, which takes away the fact that Ilsa could be considered simply an adulterer. Even Claude Rains as Captain Louis Renault works. Renault isn't really a protagonist. He really is under the jurisdiction of the Nazis, But you can tell that he truly respects Rick, which is amplified in the last scene of the film when Renault saves Rick. Then there is Victor Laszlo. I absolutely love this character. Why? Because in any other movie, Victor would have been an abusive, nasty dirtbag, giving a cheap reason why Ilsa should stay with Rick in the end. In Casablanca, however, his reputation absolutely precedes him. He truly is the noble, fearless war hero that everyone thinks he is. In many ways, he is a far better man than Rick. Take this scene, for example.
Yes. Plate.
This is the example of why Victor works. In fact, why the entire movie works. Victor has been to hell and back, and what keeps him going besides his love of freedom? His loving wife. He's fighting for her. Having Ilsa go with Rick would have been in simply poor taste. Ironically enough, the Hays Code required them to have Ilsa go with Victor in the end. Originally, she was going to end up with Rick, but go figure. This movie was more about Rick than anyone else. He was a broken man who was living in the past and got the chance to move on with his life instead of spending his days wondering what could have been. For the audience watching the movie when it first came out, I think they were looking for a good old-fashioned romance story, but got instead a story on how life, even in the darkest days, still goes on and sacrifices must be made in order to protect who we care about. It almost seems cliche, but that's where the whole as time goes by thing comes from. You know, you must remember this. A kiss is still a kiss. The world will always welcome lovers as time goes by. It's just life. It moves on. One of my favorite all-time movies is Raiders of the Lost Ark. And every time I get a chance to watch Casablanca, I always notice how much Steven Spielberg was influenced by this film. And the Ten Commandments, but that's beside the point. All the ways that the film was shot have so many similarities to one another that it just can't be denied. Not to mention all the story elements. Nazis in the plot, a loner protagonist who is really more out for himself than anyone, but you do get a sense of nobility from him, and it's set in an exotic location. And why shouldn't Spielberg use this film for inspiration? I suppose I should mention the ridiculous amount of spoofs of, "Here's looking at you, kid." But no one ever seems to mention the fact that Rick says it about 4 times in the film. It's more like his way of saying, "as you wish." Finally, I think it's only fair that I mention the British sitcom As Time Goes By, which takes the idea of this movie, but gives it a simpler plot with a lot less conflict and danger. I'm not going to recommend any of the films I look at. I can't imagine you haven't seen most of these movies, or at least you haven't heard of them. So, what I'll say is this. Casablanca is the ultimate classic Hollywood film. It's got just enough heart for it to be a feel-good movie, but it's smart enough to realize that life isn't always going to be the way you hoped it would. And for a movie that's so well remembered for its love story, the love story is only one aspect to an even bigger story.
Say, who's got trouble?
We got trouble.
How much trouble?
Too much trouble.
Well, now, don't you frown. Just knuckle down and knock on wood. Who's unhappy?
We're unhappy.
How unhappy?
Too unhappy.
Uh-oh, that won't do. When you are blue, just knock on wood.